What's going on, everybody? It's Alex Hurt here, and today we're going to be talking about 24-hour prolonged fasting. So how do you do a 24-hour fast? In this video, we're going to be talking about why you would do a 24-hour fast. We're going to talk about how to prepare for your 24-hour fast, what to expect during your fast, how to break it, and also, lastly, we'll talk about some of the benefits of 24-hour fasting. So let's get right into it. First off, you got to ask yourself why you're doing a 24-hour fast in the first place. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, so having that why back of your fast is going to be really important for when it gets tough. It'll help you push through to the end. So in general, I've seen 3 reasons why people would want to do a 24-hour fast. And the first reason is kind of obvious, but it's to lose weight. It's not really a secret anymore that you can lose weight really easily, really quickly with fasting, especially with prolonged fasting. So that could be part of the reason why you want to fast. The second reason could be to detox your body. Around 18 hours for most people of water fasting is when we enter autophagy, which is a really potent natural detox mechanism that we have in our bodies. So if you're trying to detox, just kind of reduce inflammation, flush out some of the toxins in your body, fasting could be a good way to do that. And lastly, it might be part of your alternate day fasting routine, or maybe if you're on the Eat Stop Eat diet where you're eating for 5 days out of the week and you're fasting for 2. Those 2 days of fasting are typically 24-hour fasts. So those could be some of the reasons why you're getting on the fast in the first place, and could be a good fallback for when it gets difficult. So now let's talk a little bit about how to prepare for your 24-hour fast. For me, I like to reduce the amount of calories that I eat leading up to my fast. Most of the time when I do a prolonged fast, I'll start it in the evening, maybe around 7 or 8 p.m. And that's normally around the time I eat dinner. So about the 12 hours leading up to it, I'll have breakfast, I'll have lunch, and then maybe an early dinner. But those meals will be reduced, and that's just to reduce the hunger pangs that I experience during the fast. I've done it both ways, where I've had like a huge meal right beforehand and almost nothing to eat right beforehand. And when you eat a lot of food right before you start your fast, it's just going to be a little bit more difficult. Your body's kind of primed and ready for food, and you'll experience more of those. Those hunger hormones will be more active if you've eaten a large meal right before you start your fast. You also want to make sure that those meals that you do eat before your fast are really nutrient dense. You're going a full 24 hours without eating anything, and that includes all your micronutrients. So if you kind of think about it like preloading, you're preloading all of your micronutrients for the entire day of fasting in that small period. So, eat lots of fruits, a lot of vegetables, plenty of healthy fats. Just get all the good nutrients that you need leading up to the fast, because you're not going to be able to get them while you're fasting. Also plan on having slightly lower energy during your fast, especially if you're new to prolonged fasting. If you're a little bit more experienced, if you've been doing intermittent fasting for a little bit, or if you've done a prolonged fast before, then you'll probably feel okay. Your energy should be pretty stable. But if you've never done a fast before, just expect to feel a little lethargic, a little bit lower energy going into the fast. Now this is just a personal thing, but I also don't plan any social events during my fast. Most of the time when I see friends, they want to go out and get something to eat, or maybe go get some drinks, and it's just a little awkward to deny that while you're hanging out with them, and it's even more awkward to go out to a restaurant and then say, oh no, I'm not going to order anything, I'm in this 24-hour fast and this is hour 16, and I don't really want to break it. It just gets kind of awkward. So I like to plan my fasts around my social events, just to avoid those situations. And lastly, I mentioned it before, but plan to start your fast at dinner time or around dinner time. So I'll typically have an earlier dinner, and then start my fast around when I would normally have dinner, for 2 reasons. The first is that the hardest part of your fast is always the beginning, and if you can put that while you're asleep, it's going to make your 24-hour fast way, way easier. And also, if I start my fast right around when I typically have dinner, the next day, when I break my fast, I can just break it with dinner. So it really doesn't feel like I'm fasting for a full day, even though it's a full 24-hour period. Just makes it a little bit easier, mentally to get your head around. And that's just my experience. But now during your fast, the number one rule, and I can't stress this enough, is to drink enough water. I've gone on many prolonged fasts now, and the number one thing that always gets me is that I forget to drink. I just get absorbed in whatever I'm doing for the day, and I totally forget to drink water. You actually consume about 40% of your daily intake of water through food. So even if you're drinking the same amount of water, you're not actually taking in the same amount of water while you're on your fast. So first thing when you get up, drink 2 glasses of water. Around lunchtime, 2 glasses of water. Pretty much anytime you would, feel like you might eat, you want to be drinking water, and all the times in between. Just there's almost no such thing as too much water during a prolonged fast. And also during your fast, this is also really important. Try not to work out, and if you do work out, make it really low intensity. Something like a walk around the neighborhood or a short hike or something like that. But I would really recommend against doing weightlifting or high intensity interval training or anything like that. Just, you might feel okay during the workout, but after the workout, when your body's typically ready to recover and you don't have any nutrients, you're just going to feel tanked. Yeah, the rest of the day is just going to be really, really lethargic. You're going to be low energy. So I would advise against that if you can avoid it. Now, after your fast, breaking your fast is one of the most important steps. After a 24-hour fast, your body's really primed and ready to absorb nutrients. So what you decide to put in your body at that point is obviously going to be really important. If you throw a hamburger down there, you're going to feel horrible. It's also not the easiest thing to digest, so it's going to be a little bit difficult. Now, what I would recommend doing is starting off with something that's really easy to digest, maybe even something liquid, like soup or broth, even maybe a soft cheese, something like that, just to get your digestion system kind of used to food again. Your stomach and your intestines, your whole gut hasn't really been absorbing nutrients for a while. So if you can make it as easy as possible for your body to absorb those nutrients, you're going to have a much, much better experience. So that's kind of step-by-step how to do your fast, how to prepare for it, what to expect during it, and how to break it. So let's talk briefly about some of the benefits of a 24-hour fast. And the first, maybe the most important benefit to prolonged fasting is that it reduces your insulin resistance. Every time you eat, no matter what you eat, not just carbs, but every time you eat, your insulin will spike in your blood. Your insulin basically just buses glucose to your muscles and different parts of your body. So if you're not eating, you're not having any insulin spikes at all. And so your blood insulin levels are really low. And if your blood insulin levels are low for an extended period of time, then you become more insulin sensitive. And insulin sensitivity and insulin resistance are kind of, there's an inverse relationship between the two. So if you go on a 24-hour fast, you're going to be very, very insulin sensitive, which is great for preventing type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, prediabetes, those sorts of things. So that's one of the really, really good benefits of prolonged fasting. But it also reduces inflammation. The digestion process is naturally taxing on the body. It's not always a bad thing, but when you digest food, it releases free radicals, and when free radicals are released in your body, it produces oxidative stress. And oxidative stress and inflammation are essentially the same thing. So if you're not eating anything, you're not producing those free radicals, you're not introducing oxidative stress, and you're going to have lower inflammation in your body. So prolonged fasting could be really good to reduce inflammation if that's one of your goals. And also some research points to enhanced brain function both during and after prolonged fasting. Now, during prolonged fasting, you're typically in ketosis, and which means you're burning ketones for fuel, for energy instead of glucose. And ketones are more linked to better cognitive function. If you think about it in terms of from an evolutionary standpoint, if you're a caveman, prehistoric times, and you're running around trying to find food and you haven't found food for a really long time, don't you think it would benefit you to be more focused, to be more receptive to your surroundings and a little bit higher functioning cognitively? That makes sense to me, at least, and it has been backed by research. I can put some of that in the description below. But also, it enhances brain function after the fast, and I think that's due to just the reduced inflammation and the oxidative stress sort of getting all the toxins out of your body. It just makes you a more clean burning machine, if that makes sense. And obviously we talked about it before, but it helps with weight loss. It's kind of naturally puts you in that caloric restrictive state during your fast, and we talked about beforehand kind of reducing calories, so that'll help you burn fat, especially during your fast and a little bit afterward. It helps with your hormonal balance. A lot of the satiety and appetite hormones are regulated and sort of reset during a prolonged fast. And it also helps boost metabolism. So long as you don't fast in a prolonged type of way chronically. I've actually heard some research where if you have prolonged fasting, on a more regular basis, like you do it multiple times per week, like 5-6 times per week, it can actually damage your metabolism. But doing it once per week, that should be completely fine. And actually, there's research that supports that it boosts your metabolism, which of course helps with weight loss. And this is an interesting one. It actually there's research to support that prolonged fasting increases growth hormone secretion. Growth hormone, as the name implies, helps and aids with muscle growth. So that's one of the most common misconceptions that I hear about prolonged fasting, is that you're going to lose muscle if you don't eat anything, and that's just not the case. If you are in a prolonged fast, probably around, I think it's 18 to 20 hours, your growth hormone just shoots through the roof. And if you eat protein right afterward, like if you break your fast with something easy and then you take in a lot of protein, it's actually going to help with muscle growth. I've even heard of some people who will go on a prolonged fast, and right before they break it, maybe about the hour beforehand, they'll do a weightlifting session. They'll do some type of anabolic lifting while their growth hormone is really, really high, and then they'll break their fast with protein and a lot of micronutrients that support muscle growth, and they'll actually be able to gain muscle really, really quickly by sort of hacking this growth hormone secretion that happens during a prolonged fast. So if you can imagine, during your prolonged fast, you're burning ketones, you're burning fat, and you're getting leaner, and then you work out for that last little bit right before you break your fast, right when growth hormone secretion is at its highest, and then you break your fast and you eat a ton of protein, you recover with branched chain amino acids. I like typically natural sources of protein like chicken and fish and that sort of thing. But then when you recover, your growth hormone is already much higher, and you're going to be able to build muscle a lot easier. So that's a really cool benefit for prolonged fasting. And lastly, prolonged fasting delays aging, and it actually enhances longevity. My bad. It delays aging and it improves longevity. I think we talked briefly about autophagy. So for most people, you enter autophagy around 18 hours of water fasting. And autophagy, I'm pretty sure it's a Latin root, but it literally means self-eating. So when you enter autophagy, your body will sort of go through and it'll pick what are called senescent cells. And senescent cells are just dead or dying cells that your body needs to get rid of, and it'll burn those senescent cells for fuel. So that's part of the detox process, part of the reduced inflammation that happens. It's all through that autophagy mechanism, and that happens naturally in every living organism, especially mammals on the planet. So that's a really, really awesome benefit. And it, of course, helps with reducing your aging and increasing your longevity. So that's kind of my guide to long-term fasting, 24-hour fasting. We talked a little bit about why you're doing the 24-hour fasting is really important for when it gets difficult, something to fall back on and keep you motivated. We talked about how to prepare for your 24-hour fast, reducing your calories, getting all your nutrients, what to expect during your fast, making sure you get plenty of water, and kind of reducing your activity because of the lower energy that you might experience during your fast. Talked about how to break your fast, something easy to digest, preferably liquid. And then we talked about some of the benefits of 24-hour fasting. The hormonal health that you can experience, the insulin, the leptin and ghrelin, those hormones getting balanced, it reduces inflammation, you have better brain function, increased growth hormone secretion, of course, and also the improvements to the aging process and increasing your longevity during your 24-hour fast. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and turn on notifications for when I release more videos in the future. I talk about fasting, longevity, biohacking, all of that a lot. So if you're interested in that type of content and you enjoyed this, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.